Hi, I'm JC, and on this video I want to show you how you can integrate linear in Voiceflow so you can create issues from your Voiceflow agent. So first we are going to take a look is the flow. We have a very simple flow just to show you how you can use the function, but I'm capturing email, title, and description. And with that information I am passing on to the function, and then we have like two paths, by or error, like success or error. And then with that we are going to see how it works. Then I want to show you like the linear dashboard. So I have like already some tickets, but the last one was the 25. So on the test we are going to see the 26 coming in. So first, let's test it out and see how it works in general. First, like we get some greeting, and then we, let's say, have a create issue. You can change or adapt this, but yeah, this is just an example. So for email, yeah, let's say is alice at test.com. Then what's the title? So let's say user can't log in. Then description, let's say something like the button is disabled, just to put some description, and then this will be sent to linear. So we see that we also get the information back as my identifier for the last ticket, but we also get some debug messages here, and then we get to the end. So if we go back to linear, we see that we have like now the 26, which it says user can log in, alice at test.com, and it was just now created. So that is in terms of the test. Then let's take a look how you can update or change the function, and maybe if you want to understand a little bit more how it works. So first, let's take a look at the inputs and the outputs. Here on Voiceflow, you have like the input variable mapping. That means variables that are defined on the function and how you can pass the information to it. So on the right, you have these are variables defined within the function. And here on the left is information that I passed like strings or like variables from Voiceflow that I collect or capture the information, and I map that into the variables of the function itself. And for the outputs is the other way. So here issue identifier and issue ID are defined inside the functions, and here I'm capturing that response into my Voiceflow variable, linear issue identifier. And for issue ID, I'm not using it, but you can use it, or you can store it, or like save it to another system, however you want. But yeah, at the moment I'm only using issue identifier. They are different, and we are going to take a look how they look. So that is for the input outputs, and then let's take a look quickly at the function. So the structure is very simple. First, input validation, then we get into payload and API construction, and then we get to the outputs. So for the input validation, I have this validate inputs function that is defined at the end of this function body. It's like an inner function. So if we scroll down to the bottom of the function, we have the validate inputs. And since I have four inputs, I take each one of them, and then I create like an if for each. And then, yeah, what I do is like, if we don't have the information, I return a path to the error. And that leads me to show you here on the right side how you can define the input variables. So here is what you see on the canvas. We have like these five variables: issue description, tin ID, linear API key. For the output variables, you also saw it on the canvas, like issue identifier and issue ID. And then you can define a path. So I have defined only two, success and error. If something goes wrong, or like if I don't have information needed for the function, I return the path error. Otherwise, I'm going to return the path success. So that's it, description and image. We go back to the top and let's take a look again. So once everything is validated, I destructure them into variables here on the function. For the description, since the description fields in linear and through the API supports Markdown, I put some Markdown here just to show you how it can be used. And I combine the issue description and the user email for the whole description field. Then we get into the most interesting part, which is GraphQL. So linear works with the GraphQL endpoint or like API. It's different and have some differences from a REST endpoint API, but yeah, it's very good. I worked with GraphQL before and I really liked it in terms of developer experience is really good because one thing about GraphQL is like everything is compiled and typed. So you get the types of the queries, the mutation, query mutations, or the operations of the API. In REST, you normally talked about operations to get, to like post, get, put, delete. But in GraphQL, you talk about queries or mutations. So everything is typed. Queries, mutation, types, and inputs are typed. And here I put some documentation that goes specifically to the endpoint or the information that you are going to need. And we are going to take a look at one moment. But for the payload, you have like the query. So you construct the query as a string. And then, for example, you have like the mutation of like issue create, but you can also like change this if you want, like this is just a name. The important part here is the mutation, and then you have like the issue create input type with a variable. So this is a variable. You can have like the variable name that you want. This is the name of the mutation, so it has to be like issue create. This is also typed, so it has to be input, but for the variable name, it can be anything that you want. And then you get to the body of the response. So one other cool feature about GraphQL is that you define the fields that you need, and it will return only the things that you define here, nothing else, nothing more, nothing less. So that's very cool. It has some advantages, and yeah, it's really great. And then you can use the variables features, so you can define like the variable. So this key input is the one that you are defining here. So if I put something like input data, this would be changed here, this would be needs to match here, and this would need to match as well here without the data. And that is how you can pass the information, and then you can build this outside of the query string. But yeah, I'm putting at the moment title, description, and team ID, which is mandatory, and we are going to see how we can get that as well. Then we get into the endpoint URL. So that is another characteristic of GraphQL. You only have one endpoint, and what you change to access or to change your data is the mutations. But you use the same endpoint all the time. And the most common thing is use post. You might need to do like to use get for different use cases, but the most common thing is to use only post. And then you stringify the payload, and then you get the authorization linear key, which we are going to also take a look how we can get that. After that is just more validation. The response is okay. The response is JSON. GraphQL endpoints normally also have like these errors, a rate of errors. So if we get some errors on this key, we are going to throw any error, so it's catch globally. But I'm not using this at the moment. You can inspect that and then use it in a different way if you want. And based on the payload that defined on the mutation, you see that we are we are requesting also the success key, and that's why I'm using here data.issue that creates success to just to check once again that we have all the information that we need and that we are sure. Once we pass that all that validation, we get into the fields that we need, that we are requesting, and yeah, we have like data issue create that issue, and we only need the ID identifier at the moment, and this is the information that I'm passing to the output bars, which they match to the output key. So here our issue ID match to this, and issue identifier match to this one, and that's how you can get that information on the canvas. And then I return the success and I put some debug messages. So that is all the function definition. Let's take a look real quick on how you can customize this if you want, or like how you can get more information, or like how you can pass more information to the inputs. So if you open any of these fields here, like the documentations here, you're going to land on the Apollo Explorer, which is really cool. And then you get into the mutation issue create. So here you have two things. Since everything is typed, you can take a look before hitting any endpoint what is available. So in terms of the payload, which means like the response, you can get information about the issue, you can get a last sync ID, and you can get the success. So which is we are getting, and you get details and more. And you also get like where is this used, which is very, very good because you can track whatever your information is used, or like your types of inputs. And the other interesting thing is like the issue create input. The payload is like everything that you is returned, so that matches this part of the mutation query. The input matches this part, right? So we took a look. And then for the create input, you can also take a look what is available for you to pass on. So if you, for example, would like to pass the estimate already to your creation, what you will need to do is to just put here estimate, put the variable. Of course, you would need to add a new variable here and pass it on and then validate it. But for the request, you pass here estimate the number, and then it will be available on the linear. So that is a cool thing to have from GraphQL. And the other nice feature here is like the Explorer. At the moment we were on the schema, so everything is defined and available on the schema. If we go to the Explorer, we get to this tab, and from here you can experiment with the endpoint before going into development mode. That's the best of the GraphQL workflow, that you can start hitting your endpoints before developing anything. So you get the query and the mutation root types, which are the operations, and everything is here available for you to take a look, to experiment, to play around, see if the input and the variables that you're passing are correct or not, and that creates a very good developer experience. So for example, we get into the issue create, I click, we get into what we saw before, like the fields of the payload, or like the return, success and issue, and the issue create endpoint input. So here is what is matched below here. So for example, as I said, if you would like to pass the estimate, only you have to do click here, and then it will be that at the bottom here, and then you can put whatever you want. And for the response, then you can go back, and then you say, for example, you click on the issue, and then let's say at the moment I have issue, ID identifier, and success. But if I want, let's say at the bottom, we have the URL as an example, then it will be added. and then it will be returned on your payload. And we can test this. Before you test it out, you need to go to the headers, put authorization, and then put your linear API key. I will show you in a moment how to get it. And then the team ID is also needed. So before we click here, issue create, we have also another mutation, or like another query in this case, where you can get your teams, and then you can take a look and make sure that you get the right ID. So here is the information that we need. We copy this, copy paste it, or paste it here, and then we are ready to hit the sample. If I click issue create, then you will see that it created like the 27th. Then we get to true, and that's how it's matched on the function. And then you get the URL because I added. So since I'm only defining here the information on the keys that I need, is the only thing that it returns. So data issue create issue, and that is how is mapped here on the response. That's what you see, data issue create issue, and then I would have here, for example, variable URL. That's how it works. And yeah, that's pretty cool. If you go back and then we go to again, you see that it was created. So that's really great about GraphQL. You have also this explorer. Uh, uh, this is the one that Linear is using because most likely they use Apollo as well. But yeah, that's the best about GraphQL. You can see, and then everything is typed. And to get the API key, you go here to preferences. You go to my account section, API, and then first you get the API documentation that I show you, and then you get to personal API keys. You put a label, and then you click create new key, and then you get this API key that you go back to your Voiceflow canvas and function, and then paste it out. So I think that's all the information that I wanted to show you. Yeah, working with GraphQL is really cool. And then this is how you can use this linear create issue function. That this is how you can use it. And that's all for this one. I hope it was helpful, and I see you on the next one. Bye bye.